Welcome back. You're still watching Sprint. I have the pleasure to introduce my guest for tonight. I'm joined with Dr. Khaled Farouk. He's the technical director of the Egyptian Tennis Federation. I'd like to thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me here.
So we have a number of topics to be discussing throughout this edition, and we'll be having lots of focus on tennis, your expertise. But before we jump into the first topic, and let's have a look at the story with Madrid Open and the Andy Murray's final victory on Rafael Nadal. And this is also worth mentioning that Andy Murray is having a winning streak on clay. So we'll be speaking about this more with Dr. Khaled right after this story with Andy Murray's victory. Welcome back. You're still watching Sprint, and I'm still joined with Dr. Khaled Farouk, the technical director of the Egyptian Tennis Federation, and also the international speaker with the International Tennis Federation. And we'll be speaking more about Rafael Nadal, but I'd like also to worth mentioning that you're a doctor of medicine and you have your Master of Science in sports psychology. So that's going to be an interesting topic to discuss, also to know about this unique one in Egypt and how would it help the field. But let's move back to Andy Murray and Andy Murray's great performance. Today he has the 10th win on clay in the Italian Open, but we just showed the victory over Rafael Nadal in the Madrid Open. And how would you comment on that in the first?
First of all, I would like to talking about this match, because if I'm going to choose a subject to talk about, I'm going to choose this subject. I've been talking to my players about this win. In my opinion, it's like a milestone. It's like he's putting a new trend in tennis to beat Nadal on clay. As you know, Nadal has so many wins on clay, and the previous versions of people who hold the record for winning the most winning matches on clay are Vilas and Muster and Nadal, and they're all left-handed. They say that if you want to have a player that's winning on clay or winning Roland Garros, you have to make him a left-handed like Nadal. He's actually right-handed, but he's playing with the left hand.
And he's left-handed. It's Madrid Open, and it's clay. It's his game. It's totally his game.
And the Queen was there, waiting for him to hold the trophy.
Yes, and it did not happen.
Yeah, this match has so many pointers for the fans of tennis, the players of tennis, because it's like a new trend now with the backhands dominating the game. Actually, it started not with Murray alone. Nishikori is doing the same. The semi-final match between Murray and Nishikori, it was interesting to see Murray serving to the forehand of Nishikori, not the backhand. Usually the trend in Egypt and everywhere to put the serve on the backhand is the weaker side. Now they're trying to avoid it, because the trend now is to attack the backhand, take it on the rise. When the ball is early, they smash it. They don't spin it, they don't roll it. With the backhand, because it's double-handed. They have both hands on the racket, and the extra hand stabilizes the racket. You don't miss hit. The racket doesn't wobble when you hit the ball. When you take the ball early, the ball is so heavy. If it didn't hit the middle of the racket...
So it's no more a weakness, it's becoming more or less a strength.
Yes, that's a big change in tennis. They have an interesting stat about the Nadal and Murray comparison throughout the whole tournament. In the return of the second skill, 100% of the time, Murray was inside the court. For Nadal, 0% of the time, he was inside the court. 30% or 39%, he was 2 meters behind the baseline. 61%, he was more than 2 meters away from the baseline.
That's Rafael Nadal.
Rafael Nadal. He likes to wait for the ball. There are two major schools. One of them is fight the ball, don't make the ball push you back. That's what Murray is doing. And the other is like deal with the ball, like Nadal. If the ball is heavy, move back and wait until the ball drops and start to generate your own pace. And Nadal was doing great with this until this school has very good students like Murray and Nishikori. They don't miss. Actually, this ball, it looks so risky.
So he breaks serves.
Yes, they make like 1 or 2 winners on the second serve on clay, and actually they used to say that this way is very good on hard court, but in my opinion it's much better on clay, and that's why Murray and Nishikori are winning on clay now, because the serve on clay, on the second serve, it's the weakest shot. It's very slow because the clay takes the pace of the ball.
A weaker bounce.
Yes, after the bounce it loses most of its speed, and it's so easy to kill it. The trick was the ball kicks so high. Now they attack the ball and they're very comfortable. When you see Murray, most of the time the match was as if he was skipping. He was standing on one foot. It's like a double kick. He was jumping to take the ball early and take all the speed of the ball. And this extra 1 or 2 meters inside gives him angle, gives him more pace, because the speed of the ball usually depends on the speed of the incoming ball and the racket head
Isn't
speed.
1 or 2 meters, this is a lot.
That's a lot.
It's a lot to be inside, and it's also...
It used to be, even me, I thought it's risky with my players. It's very dangerous to do it. But luckily, I was just coming back from the African Championship, and I was watching the South Africans. They are raised on hard court.
Yes.
We actually managed to win the title, but I was watching them doing this on clay, and it was very successful.
So even the young lads are using the same technique.
Some countries believe in this.
It's obviously a trend. We'll be speaking more about that, but if you allow us, we'll just switch a little bit in terms of a break, and we focus just a little bit on you. Once again, we're back with Dr. Khaled Farouk, the Technical Director of the Egyptian Tennis Federation. I'd like to thank you very much for joining us once again. And moving back to our discussion, you were speaking about Andy Murray, Madrid Open, just to remind everybody of what we were talking about, and the new trend that you are observing about the returns of the serve. So if you can elaborate about how far is this trend going? You mentioned Andy Murray, and you also mentioned Nishikori.
Like maybe 30 years ago, 40 years ago, tennis was played in a complete way. Some people say that the game is not changing, it's always the same. It's not. You remember Roddick? He didn't quit tennis long time ago. When he used to play Nadal, and they make the stats after the match, and they say, you made like this number of unforced error on the backhand or forced error. He said, when I play Nadal, there are no unforced errors. I'm always forced. When he plays the forehand on my backhand, because he's left-handed, and it goes high on my backhand, it's always forced. I'm forced. It's a very difficult shot. Now the time has changed, and now when Nadal is rallying on the backhand of the opponent like his favorite shot, Murray was controlling the rally, not Nadal. Murray was moving Nadal with his backhand, because he's taking the ball early, and the ball doesn't have curve. Before, it was a common trend in coaching to put like a double net to make safety. The players are asked to make arc or loop, or like sometimes they call it like moon bowlers. The players are playing so high because it's safe.
Yes.
Before they were playing like this. Now the time is coming back again to flatter shots with less spin and very fast shots, because when there are actually no net, you're not lifting. They used to say that tennis is a lifting game. Now they're not lifting the ball. They're taking the ball from high to low. It's very fast and very high, and he's not afraid to hit the net. They don't hit the net because he doesn't have the net in front.
He's told, so this will help him too.
Yes, and he's very good in doing this. And now he has a new addition to his team, Bjorkman. Bjorkman, because Morismo is his coach now, which is really interesting. He's working with a girl. He was raised by his mother. So he's used to having a female coach in his team. And now she's pregnant and she's going to leave him, and Bjorkman is stepping in. Bjorkman was the best in this return. He was a doubles player, singles player, and he was famous for taking the ball early. And for sure, he's pushing Murray more and more in this direction.
So this is the change, because this was my next question. Is this the change that driven, this different style? Because what you're saying is probably the main reason behind him winning Rafael Nadal. Victory in Madrid, it means a lot.
Yeah. Britain have been working on making a champ for a long time. They started this project in 2006. They call it Winning Tennis for Britain, because they say winning tennis and Britain doesn't come in one sentence. They have a legend, they have Wimbledon, they have lots, they have the Grand Slam, lots of funds, they have lots of money. That's why it's a shame they don't have enough players. But they faced their problem and they started working on this, and they recruited the best in the world. And Murray is now working with a team, not with one coach. They have a panel of coaches around him. He's exposed to the best in sports sciences in the world. Before, he was working with Brad Gilbert. Brad Gilbert was representing the old school in coaching. He's like the
godfather.
Yeah, the magician who just looks like this and snaps his finger and says something and it's over. You have to listen. Now he's using science. He has lots of people around him using the best way to recover after matches, and it pays off. Now he's using the best trend. Because in tennis, it's like in medicine. I'm coming from a medical background. They say that usually the book should follow the patient. It's not the other way around. The patient is sick. You describe what's his symptoms, and then they call it something. It's not the other way around. You don't think that he has to be sick in that way. In tennis, some coaches think that you have to play in this way. It's the other way around. We see who's more successful. We figure out a way to teach our players to do like him. It's not someone who make Nadal sit on a chair and tell him you have to do this whip forehand or you have to play with your left hand. It's not like this. He played like this,
but
and it was successful.
To change this for a player, even if it does not belong to his style?
If it's successful, for example, Nishikori was playing in Rome, first match against Goffin, and the guy was killing him. Nishikori was winning 5-love. At the end of the first set, Goffin started to play the same like Nishikori. It's so obvious, it's winning. The thing is making him win. Goffin knows how to do it, but he was reluctant to use it.
It's like using the same weapon of those players.
Yeah.
Because this was totally changed previously. You see Nadal with different style, Andy Murray the same thing. And we're watching the match now, and like you mentioned, it's the aggressiveness and the level of how they return the balls and they're very strong about it is totally different.
This is a risk. That tennis is a game of mistakes. You just wait for the opponent to miss. Now they are better athletes. They train more. The equipments are better. They don't make that much mistakes. If you're going to wait for someone to make a mistake, you're going to lose. They're not going to make mistakes. You have to be aggressive. You have to take it to the opponent and try to put him under pressure. I asked one of my national players once, why do the players in the foreign countries or the good quality players, they attack more than us? She gave me a very good answer. She said they're doing this to avoid getting killed. He's not just attacking, he's defending himself. If you play a slow shot, you're going to get killed. They say that the bad shot is punished and the good habit is rewarded. If you play a slow shot, sometimes in weak matches you win it. And it's a good idea. I'm going to play another weak shot and I'm going to wait for the opponent to miss it. If you play at a high quality tennis and you play a slow shot, you get killed. You don't do it again.
Yes, that's obvious. Definitely we'll be speaking more about those trends and the Egyptian tennis, maybe your coaching and what is the Egyptian Tennis Federation has achieved so far in terms of the sports. But let's now continue with Madrid Open and Petra Kvitova's win in this title. Welcome back. You're still watching Sprint, and I'm still joined with Dr. Khaled Farouk, Technical Director of the Egyptian Tennis Federation. So let's move now to the ladies' competition and Petra Kvitova's victory. How are you seeing this? Is this progress in the season, and how do you see the style and any changes that you observe?
I watched her semi-final match against Serena, and at the beginning of the match I watched Serena. She couldn't move on clay. And I was thinking that she's going to win, and it's going to be a good lesson to tell my players that tennis is not about one aspect. Maybe she can't move, but she kills the ball. But it turns out the Kvitova is killing the ball and moving a little bit better than Serena, and she killed her.
Yes.
Another interesting remark, when you see the final of the men and the final of the women, they have both one player lefty. This is a very good advice, because in Egypt we have very few lefties. It's not because God created less lefties in Egypt. It's for a very simple reason, that tennis is a unilateral sport, and it's one of the first things that you notice your son is lefty or righty.
You can decide from if this person should be a left person or not.
He's created a lefty or righty, and the confusion most of the time is in the lefty, because lefties are not 100% lefty. It's very rare to have a guy who's completely 100% lefty, and it's very difficult to make him a righty. Most lefties are what they call ambidextrous. They can use both hands. They can use this and this. Yes. The problem happens, the kid is like 5 years old, didn't start structured education. Sometimes he eats with the right, sometimes he eats with the left, and he's having fun. Now he starts to go to the tennis, and the coach have like the majority of the players right-handed. Yes. Grip the racket with the right hand, put your right hand back, and do like whoever. And he starts playing with the right hand, and he's lefty. On the other hand, you find a guy who's right-handed like Nadal, doing everything with the right hand, signing autographs with the right hand, and playing tennis with the left hand. They say that it has like more than 20% advantage if you're left-handed. Because most of the time I'm playing righties, and I know how to play. But for the right-handed player, he's most of the time playing right-handed players, and suddenly he's faced with the left-handed guy. And another weird thing in the scoring system of tennis, that the left-handed player has an advantage on the left side of the court, which is more important than the right. Because the most decisive scoring points happen on the left side. 40-30, 30-40, 30-15, 40-love. They are all critical points. But the right-handed player has the same advantage on the left-handed player on the right side.
Yes.
The right side is for juice, 30-all. The only critical point on the right side is 40-15, and anyway the game is over, 15-40 or 40-15. There is no 30-40 advantage.
But why do you see this was an advantage for Petra Kvitova to win this match?
Petra Kvitova, when you're left-handed, you're used to use they call the forehand side, the forehand cross court, and the serve. They used to call it like a can opener because you slice it outside, and you open the same action like opening a can, and then you eat the player, because when you open the can, you start eating what's inside it. They call it a can opener because she uses this serve, and her left-handed, normal left-handed.
When you mean eat the player, is like kill the ball.
Yeah, you open the court. You open the court and you have huge openings in the court. And for the girls, she takes the ball early, like Morey, and it's easier on the girls because the girls don't kick the ball high like Nadal. Most of the time you find the girls playing more natural backhands and they're killing it. And sometimes they call the left-handed a typical left-hand because he has better backhands than the forehand, because usually the left-hand is like Nadal, amazing
but
forehand.
To us, this is like a surprise. Maybe for you find scientific analysis to this. But for us, our scientific analysis would say that Serena Williams will continue to be winning.
Yeah.
And she has the ability to win whenever she wants to win.
Yeah.
It totally depends on her mood.
I was expecting her to win. But the problem is the clay court is different. This is the clay court season. The clay court in Rome, Berlin, Madrid, Barcelona, it's different. Different type of clay court. And I was watching her in the match. She was almost, she's going to fall over. In clay, when you start moving, the court is slippery a little bit, and you're heavy like Serena. It's very difficult, the first step. It's very difficult. And she's depending always on killing they call it the first strike advantage. She strikes the first ball very hard, and she puts you under pressure, and depends on killing the easy shot afterwards.
Yes. Interesting. We'll be speaking more about the styles and more into sports psychology. Let's just take a break from tennis and watching sprint. And speaking now, Dr. Khaled, more about Egyptian tennis. What is actually happening? But before I jump with the achievements, I'd like also to get some background about you. You studied medicine, and you have the Master of Science in sports psychology. Can tell us, this amazing mix between medicine and sports and how you did that, because now you're coaching and also you're an international speaker for the International Tennis Federation.
I was always in sport. I was swimming competitively. I was representing my country abroad, and I was national champion in swimming, and then I switched to tennis. And I was good in studying, and I was always dreaming about joining the School of Medicine. And in the final years, the ITF sent us an international expert, and he gathered all the players who are about to quit, and he started talking about the new trends in coaching. And the guy was so attractive for me. And he talked about, first time for me to hear about, in any sports, you work in 4 aspects: technique, and tactics, and psychology, and physical fitness. It's very basic things in any sport. Sometimes you find coaches only talking about technique. Technique is the way you deal with the ball, the technique. Tactic is the way you use that technique in achieving a goal.
It's long-term, more long-term strategic way of play.
Yeah, and psychology is how do you feel during big moments, and how do you deal with pressure and achievements and anxiety and motivation.
Yes. And
then the physical aspect, physical fitness of each sport. And definitely the doses of these 4 major things vary by age.
I have to tell you, the psychological part is always the shortfall of Egyptian sports at large.
In my thesis, I started the thesis saying that sport is, sometimes it's like 95% mental. Why it's 95%? Because if you have a match between 2 big football teams or 2 big sports legends in tennis, they're usually matched. Match by definition is that we're equal, we're matching. If technically our skills more or less are matching. If you have a better forehand, I have a better backhand. If you run faster, I'm stronger. If we're not matched, then we're not going to put us together.
Yes.
Technically and physically, we're matched.
I think also, if you would agree with me, physical strength will give you mental strength, and the opposite.
Yeah. Sometimes when you feel that it's like perceived confidence, when you know that you're prepared and you're physically not going to get tired and you're physically more better than your opponent, it gives you mental confidence.
That's for sure. Interesting topic, psychology. We've witnessed, you know, a huge achievement for the Egyptian Tennis Federation. 2 times African Champions League. It didn't happen, you told me, it didn't happen for the last 20 years, and it happened 2 consecutive. So if you can please elaborate a little bit about this achievement.
Definitely, it's a very good achievement. We're really proud of it in the Egyptian Tennis Federation board and me as the technical director of the federation, because like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we started a huge development plan. It was mainly based on science, and I would like to thank the board for giving me the chance, because when I started implementing this development plan, I was not sure that I'm going to get the results that fast. We started doing, I'm a researcher, I'm coming from a medical background. Reading for me is easy, because in medicine you study a lot. And I started to study all the competing nations, all the big nations, what they are doing. Everything is in the internet now. And I studied the successful stories, the failures, and I started from what they reached in the last few years.
Yes, Czech is like an example, a very good example of those.
Yes, Czech, England, USA, and sometimes there is a leading country leading the way, like England development, and everybody's following. Spain sometimes. And they say that the federation is always raised on 2 pillars, the participation pillar and the performance pillar. The participation is completely different. Those players are coming to just participate and enjoy the sports. Maybe some of them are going to switch at a certain age to high performance players. And they have to have like very successful talent identification system to separate those from those. And all of those are sciences. I have an interesting paper that I presented in the ITF. It's like they call it the gears, like gears of the bicycle.
Yes.
For a successful project, you have to have multiple gears, and each gear has a role in switching the main gear in the middle to reach the target. And every project, you don't have all the gears working together. Some gears are working in the other way, some are not working, because success is not built on one thing. You have to have lots of things working, pushing in the same direction. When we started with implementing the best system in the world in managing the players, the player database, the tournaments. We have now the best in the world. I'm really proud to say that we have the best system in the world in managing the players.
And when you mean system, it's how you put the program, or is it like a software system?
It's a software. It's the same system used by the Tennis Europe. And it's the only federation that's using the whole aspect of the program like us. Other nations are taking part. The ITF is using it. It's a system where we have all our players in the system, all the active players. We have all their data. The player has a login name and username and password. He uses his unique username and password to enter tournaments. As soon as he puts his name, he's into the tournament. We download the names. We send them to the referee. The referee makes the draw with another program related to this. He makes the draw automatic. It's completely fair. He can't see anything. Just with a push of a button, he makes the draw. With another push of the button, he makes the order of play. And then with another push, he published the result. It's like magic.
Real time.
Yeah. And I didn't know that this thing is going to quadruple the number of players in 3 years. I started with 1,000 players. Now we have 4,300 players.
On the system?
Yes, active players paying the registration fees and participating in the national tournaments. We started with like 20 tournaments. Now we have more than 100.
Oh, so it's not only having more players that are active and participating in tournaments, it's also about a source of income, revenue that helps the Egyptian tennis.
Yeah, because tennis is mainly based on traveling. That's why they call it the tour. We have to travel. The players, we're spending a huge amount of money on traveling.
Yes.
For example, if the federation, if you're going to send a team to play like African Championship, we're talking about 30 people. If you're going to send 30 people to stay like 2 weeks abroad, it's very expensive.
That's true.
This is like the obligatory trips. If you want to have an international champion, you have to send him on his own, like these tours. Right now, we have some players playing in Italy. Everything is happening in Italy now with the ATP in Rome, and the junior circuit is in Rome, like 4 weeks. The players spend a lot of money. It's around $60,000 per year if you're going to be a professional. You spend.
So it remains to be the sports for people who are rich, who are capable, who has the financial support.
Usually, even if you're capable, you can't do this on your own because it's a risk. There are a sports organization, sports management organization, federations, ministries, countries like us. When we have a tennis star, it's going to have a huge impact on the sports in Egypt, sports in general, not tennis only.
Yes.
It's a good investment if you invest money in some. But we're not like, it's not a gamble. We have now like log sheets or matrix. We can anticipate who is going to be top 100 after how many years. It's not gambling. Right now we still have like 2 players who still have a chance to be top 100, Sandra and Dalila. Dalila is right now #1 in Egypt and #1 in Spain, which is, and she chose to play to Egypt, not Spain.
Because Spanish-Egyptian.
Spanish-Egyptian. She's #1 there. They don't have a better player than her, and she's playing for us. And Sandra, she's #1 in Egypt. She played all the Grand Slams. She reached as high as top 20 in the world in ITF, and she still have a chance to be top 100 WTA player.
So that could happen because we had an interview almost more than a year back with Sandra, and she was really doing great. She had high hopes for the WTA.
Yeah.
And do you think this could actually finally happen?
It's not going to happen tomorrow, but she needs, because it's like a growth curve. When you have a kid,
but she's at least on the way.
She's on the way. Until now, she's on the way.
Any guys that you expect can rise to this stage? And
right now we have Youssef Hussam. Youssef Hussam is playing. Last week he was semi-finalist in Italy, and this week he's still winning. He's still alive in the tournament in the G1. He won the African Championship this last month. He still have another 1 year under 18 junior. Very good player, and his priorities are set. He's mainly right now he's traveling. He's doing like a homeschooling thing, and he's a very good player. He's actually the second one in the family. The first one was like top 10 also, and
yes.
This really interesting scenario. They say usually the #1. For example, the 100-meter record. They have a study, 100-meter sprint record.
Yes.
They found that the record holder in the world usually is like #3 or #4 in the family. He's not #1. Usually the #3 guy is trying his best to catch up with the senior one.
So it always becomes better.
Yes, most of the time.
Yes, that's a good
like
aspect.
Serena and Venus.
So my final question to you, how optimistic you are with Egyptian tennis? This is a great achievement, a great milestone. You're saying that the number of active players from 1,000 to 4,000, 2 championships, that's great. Just in 10 seconds, how optimistic you are with Egyptian tennis?
Very optimistic. Egyptian tennis now have a golden chance with the minister coming from a tennis background. He used to be a member of the Egyptian Tennis Board. And we're having our national training center in the youth center in Gezira. It's like state of the art. We're actually hosting the World Cup qualifying next month in June here in Egypt in the new center. We're very optimistic.
All right. I'd like to thank you very much, Dr. Khaled, for joining us. It has been a great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And with this, we come to the end of this edition of Sprint. We hope you enjoyed this edition as much as we had. Thanks for watching and have a great night. Goodbye.